other part of it. My talk is structured where I will spend time talking about different agenda, starting about a little bit about my background, why quantum computing, that's the important question, and then what is quantum computing, giving an overview of the quantum ecosystem with different industries, players, investment, and then spending most of the time in the applications of quantum computing by BQP as well as some of the other names. And then the conclusion, I do want to leave a good chunk of time for folks to ask questions. Happy to answer that. So to start off, I have been passionate about this area of computational fluid dynamics. That's something I jokingly say that if it was a person, I would marry it. So computational fluid dynamics is an area where you study fluid dynamics using some of the computational tools out there. The start for this happened in my 9th grade when I was actually in DPS, Delhi Public School, Bhilai, where I wanted to study the surface of sun. Very soon ISRO will be launching that, so I'm really excited about that. But that was breaking point for me, where I really found the passion for what my life would be worth. I would say I found my calling, and since then everything that I've been doing has tied it together. I wanted to pursue research in this area, and that's where I ended up getting the offer from Rutgers University to join in. And since my second year, I've been pursuing research in that area. I've got opportunities to do that in not only Rutgers in the supersonic wind tunnel labs, computational fluid dynamics lab, but also I went to Purdue and Denmark to pursue this area. And always more so in the development and the application, both were important for me. The experience that I gained over my undergraduate gave me a direct PhD offer at RPI, Rensselaer Polytech Institute in upstate New York, which is what brought me to upstate New York, and I've been there since then. RPI is where I actually started to develop a lot of these codes in-house with legacy Fortran first on CPUs. And here is an example of what I've actually done. And this prompted me to my next journey. So this was a simulation which was understanding the flow behind the tail of an aircraft when you have actuation devices present behind it. You can see the fidelity of this computational fluid dynamic simulation. Actually, the interesting part is this was being performed on one of the world's largest supercomputer at that time on 250,000 cores. And even with that much computational power, it took about 6 months to do this kind of simulation. So that is where the most interesting part started. Later on, I redeveloped this code, I should say, code on GPUs and got not too much of a great improvement. Not that the GPUs weren't great, it's just that the legacy code does not scale up well with new architecture. This is why I started BosonQ because there was a need in 2013, 2014. There is a paper which talked about how full aircraft CFD simulation with high fidelity cannot be performed until 2070. And I don't agree to that. So that's where I wanted to change that in the next 10 to 15 years, started BQP with my co-founders. And since then, haven't looked back. We have done a lot. This was an old news published in Analyticals India magazine, which is quantum computing raised 525K. We have actually raised on another 1 million now, which is the latest news, not in public right now. And then partnered with some incredible names in both India and in global things. We have great. The reason why BQP is highly regarded in the quantum space, because first of all, we are in the far application side of things, so we can understand the end user language very quickly, but also we have some of the biggest end user Fortune 50 companies from automotive and aerospace companies working with us right now. And some of the big names like IBM who have shown trust in us through their hardware. So all of this, great. let's talk about, why so much interest around quantum computing. We are living in this era of generative AI, which is a very new term to be put forth, but chat GPTs and all is all about data. AI ML is all about data. Simulations is all about data. What to do with that data is the big question, right? So that's where you need more computing, more processing power to get through the amount of data humans are generating in today's world. So because of more computing, you need powerful computing technology. One way to do that is make systems larger. That's how we have got to the era of exascale computing today, right? So this is where one of the thought process goes. But the challenge is that it is bottlenecked by the amount of energy used and also the real estate required. It's not easy to build supercomputing labs. It's very challenging. It's very costly, and not just to build that, but more costly to maintain that, because you could be using the biggest supercomputer might be using 3 times of the daily usage of electricity of Mumbai itself. Think about it, right? It just cannot scale much after a point. The other way to think about it is how we have been thinking about Moore's law, making your chips smaller and smaller so that you can fit more into the same space. But we are right now in so-called nanometer scale, and anything smaller from here goes into atomic scale, where the physics starts to change from your classical physics to your quantum physics. So both from an engineering point of view and from your science point of view, you are pushed towards thinking about what is the next in line technology. You need something which is what not classical computers are. And that's where quantum computing comes in. So quantum computing, is governed by the principle of quantum physics. In classical, you have like zeros and ones. It's either or, it's black or white. Let me put it that way. Whereas quantum computing says that the world is not just black or white. It has shades of gray in middle. That's what the real world represents. What does it mean? So quantum computing, through its fundamental of qubit, gives you the ability to think about how can you use things which are between zeros and ones. And that is represented by block sphere, as you can see it. And the way this utilizes its thought process is, when you're computing something, it has possibilities between zeros and ones. Whereas once you understand it or like measure it, it goes back to 0 and 1, because measurement is a classical phenomenon. So that's what happens when you are in the quantum realm. We have studied that through some of our high school textbook, that you cannot measure something with accuracy, 99% accuracy, right? So those are the things that apply here. Now, the two phenomena which govern this is, one of is called quantum superposition, which basically helps, multiple states exist. So the superposition is what lets, you go from the possibilities of 0 and 1. Let's see how you can use it. So let's say you have different paths. You want to go from home to school. You can traverse different paths. As you can see here, you have like 4 or 5 possibilities. Let's say you have 1 qubit available. In classical, you will go traverse each path, whereas in quantum, you might say that, okay, I will energize all of these paths, and then think about which is my most optimal path. So instead of doing trial and error, I can actually pinpoint which is my most optimal path. So that is what the ability that superposition gives us. But let's say I make the problem much more complex. That's where I have lots of possibilities now. So 1 qubit is not going to be enough. I want to have multiple qubits. Now this is the most interesting part, that in quantum mechanics, once you have 1 qubit made, then you can entangle multiple qubit. What does entanglement mean? Let's say I spin 1 qubit, the other qubit which is entangled with it also spins. So if you have multiple qubits spinning, then they can perform the calculations parallelly and hence give you a quantum computer at that point of time. So if I have 1 bit in classical, I can represent that by 2 qubits, 2 to the power of n. If I have 2, I have 4 qubits. If I have 8, I have 2 to the power of 8. And in computational fluid dynamics, BQP has been stating if we have 30 bits in classical, whereas we have 2 to the power of 30 qubits in quantum, we can actually do the most high fidelity simulations possible. But there are nuances to it. A qubit is a very, first of all, qubit is made out of different technologies such as electrons, protons, photons, ions, and that's how you have different types of quantum computers available. But the life of qubit is very, it's not robust. It can break very easily. And hence, that's where we are. We are in the early phase of the technology, but a lot of good work is going on in understanding that. And to make these qubits, some systems require that you are in sub-zero temperatures, depending on which quantum computer type you're trying to make. So now, not going into that part too much because that's something people can be very much aware about. What I want to highlight is where does the quantum computing ecosystem lie? So I'm going to say this relative to the user level, user being yourself. First is the hardware players. So the names that you see in this chart, come from that, where they are either making a superconducting circuit. Superconducting is meaning it's coming from electrons. Photonics means photons, neutral atoms trapped ions from ions, and then you have other like silicon, carbon, helium. So you can see there are a number of players working globally to make such quantum computers possible. And then there are players who are supporting them through their hardware components and qubit control and error corrections and those kind of things. So this is the hardware layer of the thing. Now let's come a little bit top. Then you have the middleware. You need IDEs to type your codes which will interact with your hardware. You need some of the activities like optimization of circuits and even iOS. You need, so those are the things that are happening in middleware. A lot of good work happening in, and this is what is accelerating the NISQ era, as we call it in quantum computing. NISQ means near intermediate state quantum computers, which are giving you that prototype ability today to do these kind of things on quantum computer. The middleware is helping you to come across or accelerate that much more quickly. And then you finally have the algorithm and the application layer, which is where you are the most closest to the user. So that's where you are developing different types of things such as drug discovery, financial services, chemical and material simulation, optimization, logistics. And then you have cross-industry application where BQP also plays a role. So these are some of the applications that are the most interesting. I will be talking about it more in my further slides. But it's important to understand one thing before we move forward, that quantum is not a technology. Everybody has to think that it's a fast car. It's not a fast car. It's a boat, for example. So you have a car, it's not a fast car, it's a boat. The reason I say that is because it can do some problems very, very well. Not all. You cannot say that, oh, I will stream my Netflix on quantum computer and it will work magic. No, it does not work like that. There's just similar to how you have CPUs, then you have GPUs. The GPUs are not going to replace CPUs because they are good at something. In same way, you will have CPU, GPU, and then you have TPU. You can put TPUs and FPGAs in middle, but that's going to be a heterogeneous architecture moving forward. And this is sometimes not well prescribed by the quantum ecosystem, where they are saying that the world will be only quantum, which is not true. The most interesting part is there's a lot of investment that has went into this field until now. A lot of the big players in the industry have invested in the future because that's the future. How to accelerate their processes. For example, Boeing, have looked at some of their material optimization. BMW, which did a quantum challenge where BQP participated and were finalists, to Deloitte, and where they did a use case which I'm going to describe later. So a lot of great interest coming in, which makes this field even more exciting. And then the one of the technologies which I say that not only private players have taken interest, but the government has taken interest. As you can see, the global effort is estimated to be $36 billion, where a lot of countries have invested the money. Even India, which I'm very proud to say, is investing about 6,000 crore in the National Quantum Mission, which is huge. And then you have some investments, through private equity and investments coming in through different parts of the world. The big question: why is government interested into quantum? So, as I mentioned earlier about qubits, how they can change their shape and you can have different possibilities. Think about it from a cybersecurity point of view. Quantum computing is said that the day quantum computing arrives, it can actually break today's encryption. You see that the encryption tag in your WhatsApp, they can actually break it, because it's just so easy for quantum computing to look at different possibilities so quickly that no classical systems can handle it. This is where, before the world reaches who can break the quantum encryption, the quantum computing is being used to help make new encryption, or QKD as they call it. Quantum key distribution is one area of work there, which I'm also going to talk about. And this becomes an importance of national security standpoint of view, and some of the players in this world are much further than other countries in the world. So all of the countries such as US, India, UK are following, and we have China, I think, so have made great headway into this. So that also becomes that every country should be almost equal to each other, and hence the interest and push from the national government as well. So now, as I mentioned, quantum computing can do some of these types of mathematics problem very, very well. So you have simulation, you have optimization problems, which is a big thing. So optimization is what is possible in the near term. Cryptography, as I already mentioned, linear algebra, which is what also BQP is using, data search. I will give you some examples that we have done. Quantum machine learning, very interesting area that we are exploring as well. So here are some of the industries that I have mapped into who could be looking at different types of things. Aerospace, as I said, material development. You have life sciences, where you have drug discovery. Basically, let's say you hit the next pandemic, how it took 1 year for the vaccine to come. With quantum computing, we might be able to do that in minutes. So that's where the challenge is, of how to crack that code to make those things possible. And then you have optimized routes, you have different areas that we'll go into. So now I will go into specific examples, which related to traffic optimization, cybersecurity, drug development, AI, engineering simulation, and financial modeling to talk about this. First, I will pick up a case that BQP did with Maruti Suzuki, which was on this part called control arm. It's made out of aluminium. So the goal was to make, and 4 in numbers, so the goal was to make it lightweight. Lightweight is always important because then you can make your car more fuel efficient. So we did this simulation using our software BQ5 that was talked about earlier. And the result you see is on the right-hand side. We compared our simulation results with the classical simulation software that you might have, and we achieved 7% more weight reduction at 1/8 of the cost. This translates to about $530,000 of yearly saving from material saving and from compute cost itself. So this is very interesting because some of these kind of use cases are prevalent in industry, and we are actually working with a lot of these players to get those use cases and solve them. Then an example from a different company, One Qubit, and then Biogen and Accenture Labs, which did a use case on drug discovery. Here, the goal was to develop a quantum-enabled molecular comparison application. So basically, you have different types of, you know, like an area of work in biotech, which is basically to find different types of molecules and their applications. So here, what they did was that the molecular comparison which involved here is to predict the positive effects of a therapy or a drug while reducing the negative side effects. So you have different target points in the body. And this application that the folks here showed can speed up drug discovery for very complex neurological conditions such as Alzheimer, Parkinson's, and Lou Gehrig diseases. This was also an interesting use case, and you can read about it in the link that has been shown below. Next comes from the financial side. Finance is a very interesting area for people working on the application of quantum, because that's where they see near-term application with it. As I mentioned, it's a long journey to get to the fault-tolerant quantum computers. So portfolio optimization lends itself something which is possible in near term. Here, the goal was to optimize the investment portfolio with real market data using a so-called quantum-inspired approach to maximize the returns while minimizing risk. And the portfolio optimization here involves a huge computational effort if you have to consider all possibilities that might or might not happen in your data set. And this work by BBV and Multiverse being one of the quantum companies, showed that the quantum method could already perform this task more efficiently than traditional method. So instead of taking 2 days, they can do that in matter of seconds. So this was a small proof of concept that they did. They're scaling up this right now. Then comes the cybersecurity part, random number generator. This is what Fujitsu and Consortium, which is another quantum company, did a proof of concept demonstrating the quantum random number generator, QRNG as we call it, with the Fujitsu SD-WAN. So basically they have this quantum entropy, which is a key sitting in middle of the quantum computing making thing, and then the Fujitsu, which is coming out with their internet. And there they were able to show that this is actually possible. Again, as I mentioned, one thing, while I said it earlier, maybe I did not say it completely, that the quantum encryption is a very important topic, but we don't have quantum computers right now which can either break or right now save. We are a little bit far away, a few years far away from achieving that, but these kind of proof of concept becomes very critical in that. NIST in US have set up some standards and have selected some of the work that have been done in quantum, which will lend itself to quantum cybersecurity area. But again, this requires many qubits. This requires a lot of good quality qubits, and hence the fault-tolerant qubits become more important. Then we have traffic route optimization. This was actually a quite interesting use case. If people have heard about traveling salesman problem, which I think is an NP-hard problem. Volkswagen with D-Wave being another quantum hardware company, did this application where they performed a pilot of a traffic management system which was powered by quantum algorithm behind it, and that was used for buses carrying thousands of passengers through the city of Lisbon. There was an event in Lisbon in Portugal. And the traffic route optimization is like I mentioned, it's an NP-hard problem because of its traveling salesman qualities. Here, it was demonstrated again as a proof of concept that the bus can drive around, through traffic by bottleneck, by avoiding a lot of the traffic jams before they can even arise. So that's what very interesting use case. This actually prompted BQP through the Deloitte quantum challenge to look at airline route optimization. So here we took basically in this use case 100 flights over Europe, and the goal was to see how can we reduce the carbon footprint, fuel consumption, and flight time in this one. So basically, here we went ahead and did a quantum search algorithm. That's what we developed for ourselves, and then as part of that, we saved about 18% carbon footprint, about 4% fuel consumption, and about 1% flight time doing this problem. So while I talked about a lot of interesting use case, again, as I mentioned, this was not a deep dive into the physics and the mathematics of quantum computing. There are more qualified people to do that, I believe. But this was more of getting people excited about what's the possibility with quantum computing. Why is it so much of excitement? And to conclude, as we learned, quantum computing is the next in line technology given the computing processing that we are getting from classical, and it will become part of the heterogeneous architecture of CPU, GPU, TPU, FPGAs, and QPU. Qubits are powerful because of its quantum mechanics principle, superposition, and entanglement. The challenge is how do you scale this to massive systems to be able to do a lot of the applications we learned today. And the quantum stack is growing very rapidly. Every day you spring new companies, and there's a lot of exciting work going on both in the hardware and the application space. I focus a lot on the application, but even on hardware, there's great advancement happening literally every day. And then the major players from the industry and the government have already started to work with quantum, and there's huge investment coming from private market and government. And then quantum can do certain class of problem very well if you guys take nothing, but this is very critical. You cannot do everything with quantum. You can do some problems very, very well. And those are the class of problems I discussed in that map. And some of the interesting applications we looked at today in the biotech, finance, cybersecurity, supply chain, aviation, and automotive industries. With that, I will conclude my talk and leave the floor open for any kind of questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Yeah, now it's time for a discussion. So if there are questions from audience, we can ask to Abhishek.
Is anybody monitoring questions in the chat box?
Yes, sir. There are no questions in the chat box.
Or maybe on the YouTube?
YouTube also no chat, sir.
Okay. Well, this has been an amazing talk, Abhishek.
Sir,
yes.
somebody raised the hands.
Yes, who is it?
PK Ahluwalia.
Yes. Abhishek, the person asking this question, let me introduce you to him. Professor Ahluwalia is the president of the Indian Association for Physics Teachers. And he is assisting us in the seminar series. IIPT is also our outreach partner in this. So thank you very much, Professor Ahluwalia, for all the support. And
thank you.
And it's a pleasure to have you at this meeting. So please go ahead with your question. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Deshmukh. And thank you, Abhishek. I think I liked your presentation very much. The reason is that you had brought it down to such simplicity that I could appreciate it a lot. And you really brought out the scope of quantum computing in a very, very, very nice manner. And because you are already working in this, that's another advantage which is there. My question is very simple. There is a lot of talk about, creating workforce for quantum technologies. And I think that workforce comes in the companies which you have actually floated. And can you really help us to know that how, say, physics students in particular, can really have a kind of a journey in that direction where they can use their physics knowledge and find some exciting area to work on in future? So this is my very simple question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, first of all, Dr. Alvaria. And when the first time Dr. Deshmukh contacted me, the whole purpose that I found, of doing this is to strengthen the narrative that BQP is going behind, which is quantum workforce readiness. So, Dr. Ahluwalia, let me shine some light. When you have new technology like quantum computing, you require breakthroughs to happen, and breakthroughs don't happen without people. So from day one, even as a very small startup, when we started this back in 2020, we have tried to push this thought process that you need the folks to understand quantum. The benefit BQP enjoyed at that time was IBM, I think so, right, in 2019, 2020, did a lot of great effort in India especially, and even globally, but in India, to get the young folks in computer science, physics, mathematics, get excited about quantum, but also learn the quantum skills. That's where the first quantum developers at BQP came through. And we have tried to since then continue. And even today, we do a lot. We have partnered with a lot of the Indian universities to inspire and give a reasoning, for young folks to join this. And let me put it this way. People get very excited about the prospect of quantum. But till 2020, 2021, there was not real reason of why they should pursue this as a career, because there are not a lot of companies out there which can do so. 2022 changed that, not just by BQP getting funding, but we connecting the opportunities from global startups that we sit with on the same table, such as ones I've mentioned here, them to the Indian audience. And right now we are taking a big effort as well. Very soon, in few months, you will hear about it. Now, coming to your question, I say this one thing. People confuse quantum with being very high tech and then are afraid to take a step towards that. Quantum is not just a technology, it is an ecosystem. It requires every skill set that is out there. It requires new marketing people, it requires new business strategy folks, it requires new mathematics, mathematics to be coming in, because everything is about mathematics and physics, but it's to build around that, you need all sorts of skill. Now, physics is at the heart, so is mathematics. How can people lend their self, as you asked? This is my urge. And when Dr. Deshmukh again contacted me, my ask was, how many people are going to see this? Who are going to see it? It's not about quantity, it's about who is going to see it. And I really want to urge through this platform for great researchers that are sitting in our institutes right now to really come out in the private or the public spaces, where a lot of this thing is being talked about and is being worked right now. Physics lens is direct. Somebody having a physics background can understand these quantum mechanics, quantum physics, these things quite well. But they can also help either in the hardware side of things, like how to make quantum hardware, what are the different technologies. I showed tons of companies who are working in this. They are lacking talent. They need people who can understand this. And then the second part of it is people understanding applications, algorithm, and mathematics. So application is a very abstract layer. Let me remove that. Let me make it more simple. Mathematics, which can understand how do you transform qubit states. Those kind of things we study it, and people with that background can contribute a lot. And not just young folks. Let me urge you, Dr. Ahluwalia, even teachers, professors, are required in this. Because like I said, a breakthrough doesn't happen just by like that. You need the best of the best people to come forward and make that possible. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, actually, Abhishek, there is one supplementary with it, if you please allow me to ask that. We were deliberating on national education policy recently in IAPT, and we made some submissions to NCRT and CBSE about that, what should be there in physics itself to facilitate these kinds of things. And we saw that there is a window of opportunity there where they are saying that some 2 elective courses will be available for even physics students who major in physics at +2 level. So what should be those courses? So people started saying that the 2 courses which can be there are, one is quantum computing and other is quantum mechanics. So people appreciate, okay, quantum mechanics is all right. And then they were asking, okay, what are we going to do in quantum computing at school level? Do you think that it is possible to talk to even +2 students about it in a very, very simple, coherent manner so that they start getting excited? Because I think that is where catch them young kind of a philosophy actually works. So what is your take on this?
Great question. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you asked that question. Here is my take on it. I think so when, first of all, BQP supports high school students. We actually have 2 interns from high school who are actually working and contributing to our team. Young folks are no behind. But this is for mass audience, this is what I will say. If I was in your place, the 2 courses has to be, one should be quantum mechanics and the other should be mathematics, but in the form of applied mathematics. I won't go for quantum computing and that. The introductory to that courses can be that the world is moving towards quantum computing and all of those things. That could be the start motivation. There could be a chapter like, as we discussed, like here today, what is quantum computing? Very, very brief about it. But why I say that? Because as we say in Hindi, right, neev pakki honi chahiye. The fundamentals have to be very strong. And I am where I am sitting today, and I say that even to the people in my company, mathematics is evergreen, and so is physics. So if they have to do an elective course, because I've been a student of that same curriculum, I would maybe go a little bit more on quantum mechanics. What happens in today's book is it's just the placement of that chapter is so far behind in those books that we might never get to it. Or even we get to it, there are questions that come in the board exams, but we never like prepare it to the level where we can say. And then when we come to like masters and PhD to do quantum computing, that's where like, oh yeah, this is what we studied in the last chapter of 12th book. So that is what I think. So if it changes, will make a sense. And as I said, there's nothing more important than mathematics. So applied mathematics, if you have that, especially for these students, will go a long way. So this is my take on it.
Thank you, Abhishek. And I think IAPT will keep in touch with you. I think that is what is the purpose of my attending these lectures is also, so that I may bring IAPT with you. And I am grateful to Professor P. Deshmukh and chairperson of today's, this group. Also to ISA director and IIT directors who really made us part of it. They really found that, yes, IAPT is an important group to be part of all these things. I am grateful about that. Professor Deshmukh has been a great benefactor of IAPT, and that is how it all happened. Thank you very much, Abhishek. And let me tell you that I make sure that these YouTube videos reach out to our stakeholders. They don't just stay with me. I make sure that they reach out. I work on those things, and I'm very much into it that something of this will happen. Thank you. Thanks, Professor Deshmukh.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Ahluwalia, for your intervention. It has led to very important discussion, which I hope will really turn out to be consequential. There are some other questions. Professor Vaisi Sharma has a question. Maybe you can unmute yourself, Professor Sharma.
Yeah,
yes?
sure, sir.
Yes.
Namaskar, good evening, sir.
Namaste.
Most of the questions were asked by our senior Professor P.K. Ahluwalia, sir, who is the president of IAPT. And I appreciate the effort which you have taken to sensitize the young students and faculty members about the importance of quantum science, particularly in India. Because this is the field, as Abhishek himself was saying, that people in chemistry and physics both were thinking of this as more of a theoretical knowledge only, not a practical use. But now it will have more and more applications, as Abhishek has introduced. One question from my side was that regarding what are the exact applications. If you can, although you have introduced the idea in a very befitting manner, but we would like to, as a teacher of physics, I would like to specifically give one or two examples regarding what the industry is trying to do, or the research work which is being taken in the field of quantum computing, which will be of very much use for the society, and on to what the student should focus on. So if right now Abhishek cannot answer that, then I will request him to send it later on, or will request you to intervene when you are at Jaipur during our annual convention, or later on in any such talk. Yeah.
First of all, it's Professor Sharma, a great question. If I have to pinpoint some of the application that of our real critical use, number one I would say is drug discovery in biotech area. The reason for that is the particle, the molecular finding is very close to quantum mechanics equations, Schrodinger's equations, and others. And I think so that for anybody who's in physics and anywhere in this near quantum mechanics space can understand very well and also start contributing. So picking that as an application, which I think is a great thought process, picking few of these relevant, very relevant applications, then tying that to it is a great thought process. And so that is one I will say. The reason for that is when you have particles or molecular discovery, material discovery, all of these are fundamentally similar problems. The compute power with today's classical becomes intractable, so as to speak, and that's where you need the next technology. But if you work out the mathematics of it, there's a lot of such algorithms now developed, such as variational quantum eigensolvers and such, which can help students to learn about this and then also start contributing in developing new algorithms as well. Because one thing as you pointed on, I will use that we cannot stay theoretical. We have to come up to understand what this theory can lead us to which application, and that is one application, material discovery or drug discovery. The other one is, I would say, cyber security. I want to say it, but I will not. The reason it's a little bit far-fetched. So you can study that with some of the algorithms that have been put forth by the great minds, but after that you will see the ceiling of it, just given that the maturity of the quantum technology being early. So I will say that instead of that, let's look at optimization problems. That has huge scope in the near term. So as I gave few examples on route optimizations and all, but optimization is just everywhere in life. You can go from supply chain logistic point of view to even doing some of these chemistry-based problems, physics-based problem, also from making it an optimization problem and then solving it with near-term things. So So material drug discovery and optimization are the two problems that I will say if somebody has to take a look at.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abhishek. Thank you, Professor Deshmukh and Professor Ahluwalia for providing and sharing this platform with me and others. Yeah.
Abhay Singh has a question. Abhay, can you unmute yourself and you can ask the question? He has put his question in the chat box, but if you unmute yourself, you can go ahead and ask yourself.
I see the questions on one area point about which QC domain are more practical. Okay, to answer the question which Abhay has put in, thank you first of all, Abhay, for a great question. So there are every domain actually right now, and R&D, I guess you're right that it's under R&D, but it's not happening in labs. It's happening at industrial R&D. Why that is different is because you just don't think theoretically or do things theoretically, but you do as part of large groups, teams, collaborations become very critical. And so does the thought process of what is the most important. So you have to bring something out of that R&D. For example, R&D at BQP means new algorithms, taking care of new applications. In a hardware company, R&D means how to improve your hardware and make it more scalable and make it more fault tolerant. So I would say, in terms of that, the biggest scope for young folks is an easy skill to learn is in the software space. Not that I'm biased towards software, but more so that for hardware, you require being physically located at places where hardware is being built. And that's mostly right now happening outside of India. There are some very interesting companies in early stage that are doing great work and will make us proud very soon. But those are limited right now. So I will keep watching that space if you're interested in hardware. But I will turn the attention towards software, where there's great number of resources by IBM, by others, some of our partners from other countries coming to India and helping young minds to get educated on to write quantum algorithms. Some of these are called IBM Qiskit, Classic, Q-Control, and such platforms. BQP is also doing some effort in that. You will hear about it soon if you follow us. And what does that do? That actually makes you ready for job opportunities, which will be in different domains. Again, people don't think of them as verticals right now in per se, unless you are in a company like BQP or Multiverse that I gave examples. Most of the places, if you know these tools that are out there and have a good understanding of the mathematics and understanding the algorithm, you can lend yourself to service for different organizations which are building cross-industry applications, and there are a lot of those right now. And what does that mean? There you can look at different applications, and the company might be doing 4 or 5 of such applications together. And that most of there you could possibly think of a remote job even from India to there. So that's what I will say. But just let me write some of these tools if it is okay in the chat. That might be helpful. Qiskit, Classic, AWS, Bracket, and Azure Quantum. Professor Deshmukh, you can also contribute to that list, maybe if I'm missing some other tools.
No, I think that's a great start.
Yeah, Abhishek, I just had a very simple question. So what I understood is you're working on the quantum software development. So which quantum computer are you using for your development, developing softwares?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Jose. So basically for us, we are on the very end application. So we are actually designing an engineering simulation software, BQ5. And the mathematics, it's all about quantum mathematics that we are using, quantum algorithm, and we are abstracted from the hardware. So we are looking at number of hardware. For example, in the BMW Quantum Challenge that we ended up becoming the finalist, there we use D-Wave through your Cubo approach. A lot of the gate-based we do, and there are a lot of gate-based work going on, for example, with IBM, Fujitsu. We also utilize AWS, we utilize Azure, and we try to test different hardware for our mapping of the problem and seeing which is giving the result better. It's still early experiments that we're doing. We've done a lot of those in all gate-based architecture, and now we are also starting to see some digital annealing, but that's more of an exploratory area. Very recently, actually, and this will also become a public news, which I'm very proud to say, PQP has won a big grant from Government of India to look at how to optimize the battery using our algorithms that we have designed, and there we will be using both a mix of annealing and gate-based architecture for that. So we are not restricted. We actually give a lot of knowledge and education to a lot of the other folks, even to hardware folks. We give them of how we have utilized their hardware.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think there is a question now in chat box. Yeah. Yeah, it's from Ramita. Yeah. Shall I read it out?
Oh, I can read it. I'm able to
please.
see that. Second year of the SMS, and this semester we were able to do. I was more into the field of bio, but quantum really astonishing. Give me an idea about how bio. Oh, that's a great question. As I mentioned, biotechnology has some very exciting near-term applications. You should look at this company called as Polaris QB. I think so. I'm mentioning the name correctly. They are actually using near-term quantum algorithm such as Cubo formulation. I think so. They're using D-Wave architecture to find molecules for drug discovery. Very exciting early stage startup doing very good work. And then you will find some of the names that I've listed. They are also working in that direction. So there's huge potential for you to bring both your bio background and understanding quantum and doing something in quantum, I would say. And one thing I will actually, let me take this opportunity, Ramita, to also talk about. It is very easy to get lost in the world of quantum, meaning it's very enticing. So you can go learn quantum algorithms, tools, and all, as I mentioned. What is a missing skill in the industry right now is how can you actually translate what industry wants to mapping that onto quantum. I'm giving you a secret here, like this is what industry is missing. So you, as somebody who might understand bio and bio subject very well, can actually, and a bit of quantum mechanics and quantum computing, you can actually map out the problem when an industry partner says something to a company and then map it to a quantum mechanics problem, which is again mathematics. That, I think so, can give you a huge advantage. This is what is happening, and this is why really BQP stands out. We are experts in quantum, but we are also much more expert in engineering simulations. So I can go and talk to an automotive company, an aerospace company, and can understand their problem and very quickly map that onto quantum and run that. This is a very, very underrated skill in the quantum ecosystem. So I hope that helps you to open up your thought process.
Yeah, thank you. And are there more questions? Yeah. So maybe one last question from my side, Abhishek. So are you running any introductory tutorials for the simulations or something from your side?
So there in our YouTube, we did actually a hackathon back in 2020. We have not done since because we have just been so caught up. But there are some courses that will be soon offered in this area. Also, especially from a simulation point of view, and my favorite computational fluid dynamics and using quantum. I'm actually going to be at the Asian CFD conference in Bangalore later this year, and November 2nd is my valedictorian talk there. So if anybody is interested in that topic, please feel free, and you're invited to attend my talk there on November 2 in Bangalore.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there are no more questions. In that case, sir.
Yeah, Abhishek, would you like to, for the benefit of those who are attending this talk, would you like to comment on, you mentioned your work with the D-Wave, and they use these annealing as opposed to gates. So would you like to comment on their approach? Not everybody may be familiar with that.
Yeah, so there are two types of, on a very broad level, there are two types of quantum computing systems. You have one gate-based, which is what all people talk about with IBM, BosonQs, Google's, Microsoft, everybody is there. And then there's another class of quantum computer, which is called quantum annealers. And some people have taken a bad shot at them as well, saying that they are not real quantum computers. Please don't believe that. They are equally as quantum computers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
D-Wave utilizes annealing. You can think of the classical version of that as simulated annealing, and then quantum annealing equivalent of that. What it does is it uses some of the entropy principles to make your optimization problems, and especially combinatorial optimization problems, through their architecture, very much applicable. And mind you, that D-Wave is the first quantum company. It started in 1993 as an R&D company. It then became a private player and an important player in our ecosystem since, I think so, past 5-7 years. They also went to IPO, so they are doing great job. And if you are looking at anything near term and in optimization, D-Wave lends itself in the right way, whereas other gateways architectures are still growing rapidly. So we cannot discount the contributions of D-Wave. Is there any other point, Dr. Deshmukh, that might be helpful for the audience?
Well, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful session, Abhishek. Really appreciate it. It really has been very fascinating to hear about your journey. I know you have worked with the automobile industry, with biotechnology, with financial applications, cybersecurity, airline route optimization as well. So this is really an amazing engagement with a variety of problems and looking for more efficient solutions using quantum algorithms. So really has been a very exciting talk. I'm sure everybody would benefit. So thank you very much. We will, of course, stay in touch. Wait a minute. There is another comment from Abhay Singh. Let's have a look at that. Abhay? Abhay, do you want to unmute yourself and participate in the discussion?
Yes,
You're quite welcome to.
So good evening, sir.
Yes, Abhay, go ahead.
Actually, I have done MSc in physics and I have learned about the data science course, because at that time quantum is not at much that high. So I just searching for some alternative which is just related to my field, because that at that time data science is everywhere in every field. So I just go for the data analysis course. Right now I want to make a career in quantum computing. So I want to know as a learning phase, I want to know as a fresher, if I want to do an internship in your company, which topics you are looking that they must be in the candidate, and that must be clear as a fundamentals.
Okay. I've sent you the email ID. What I will say, and this will also benefit everybody who's looking at this, You can, given you have a data science background, I would say quantum machine learning is an area that you can look at. There are very good tools that are out there. And I think so the skills is more important than what problem you're solving. So if you can, if I give you any sorts of problem, the problem should be a problem for you. Your skill should not change. Meaning, if you know how to implement that in different systems, let's say, as we talked about D-Wave or IBM or IBM through Qiskit, Classic, for example, or Azure Quantum, any of these tools that I've listed above, if you learn that, and if you come prepared with the quantum machine learning, I think so you will do a great job, not only interning that, but you might convert into full-time. Some of the interns that came in early, first year, second year, even as I mentioned earlier, high school students who are part of BQP, they come with that skill of, I give them any problem, they are able to put the problem into different system and solve it. That is the skill that we are looking at BQP. We are looking for problem solvers.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Great.
Yeah, it seems to me that there are no more questions, and I would like to thank Abhishek once again, join Jobin and everybody else in the meeting who has really benefited from this very exciting discussion. So thank you very much, Abhishek. I'm sure many of us will stay in touch with you. I think Abhay has just found an internship, hopefully. So good luck to Abhay, and have a wonderful day, Abhishek. Jobin, I think we are pretty much ready to close the session, I think.
Okay, yeah, put in my LinkedIn as well in the chat, and please feel free to connect with me. And thank you so much,
is there another comment or two?
No, I think so.
No, I think it was Abhishek.
No, I think that is pretty much the.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Abhishek. And goodbye for now.
And thank you, CAMOST and Professor Deshmukh, for organizing this series of talks. And this was really wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Deshmukh.
Thank you very much, sir. And to Ahluwalia, sir, to provide this opportunity. Specifically, his pressing is always putting it on the IAPT group. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.